Hello everyone, and this is my filmmaker introduction, and welcome to the channel. So to introduce myself, my name is Dane Kyle. I am a filmmaker from Charlotte, North Carolina, and I'm very pleased to be a part of this endeavor. Well, I first got into filmmaking. Well, I've always loved movies, and I've always wanted to make them myself, and I want to say, it was around 10 years old that I knew that I wanted to be in films, at least somewhat. I didn't exactly know in what capacity or even how it worked, really. But I knew I wanted to do it. So, at first I thought it meant acting. And then eventually, I found out about writing and directing. And, it just took quite a number of years to really understand exactly what all went into the process of making a film. And it wasn't really until college when I got to make some of my first films. I had not really done the whole VHS camera making. I did a few, but it wasn't like as extensive, I guess, as other people. But once I got to college, I caught up pretty quickly. And, one of the earliest things that I made was actually what's playing on the screen right now, was a silent, kind of a silent, black and white, silent German expressionist film called Eternus that I shot as part of my senior film at college. And it was a film that I'd wanted to make for, quite a long time, and it was kind of a very personal story for me because I love German Expressionism. I love that era of film, and specifically, films like The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari and Nosferatu and Metropolis, so all of those things went into this film, plus Charlie Chaplin films, like City Lights and Modern Times. I was the only one in my school who was even remotely making such a film, and people didn't really understand what I was doing or why I was doing it. It just, it was something that it was so unlike anything else that anyone was doing at the school. And I mean, the fact that it turned out as well as it did, and the fact that, it's still the thing I'm most proud of to this day. It was so different from everything that everyone else was doing that it was something, it helped give me kind of a good sense of direction for what I wanted to do for the rest of my career, which was to try to understand what the typical paths are for a filmmaker and to deliberately subvert them as much as I can. So within the horror world, I've tried to do things that most people wouldn't do or wouldn't necessarily think to do. And I've always liked, classic horror films. Like, I grew up on the Universal monster films. My favorite was Creature from the Black Lagoon. I was very into science fiction, and, to this day I still like to blend them together. I mean, the film right here, Eternus, it's has a lot of science fiction elements to it as well. But I love all kinds of films, and I tend to find that even within horror I try to combine a lot of elements of like comedy or romance or drama or whatever. I mean, Eternus there is kind of, it has the trappings of a horror film in terms of how it looks, but it's really more of a romance, at its core. But I've really been gravitating to horror because I find that you can do pretty much anything you want within it. It's such a versatile genre. It's something that really has no limitations, and I mean that's what I'm all about. Is I'm trying to figure out how to where are most people's limits, and how do I push them beyond where most people would go in a way that makes them glad that I did it. That's always, I think, the filmmaker's goal, is to to challenge people and to provoke them into thinking, and hopefully affect them on an emotional level, whether it's to scare them, to move them, to make them laugh, to make them cry, all of those things all in one film. Those are my favorite kinds of films, are the ones that can do it all. And so, I'm very pleased to have been able to continue to make films since this one back in 2014. I've made like a film noir, short film. These are all shorts right now, but I've made a film noir called The Big Blind, which had Lloyd Kaufman of Troma in it. Um, and I've made a lot of shorts with Tony Newton, who, invited me to be a part of this new endeavor. And of course, I jumped at the chance because I've made a lot of segments of anthologies with Tony, and I've been able to push myself beyond what I thought I could do, and got to try new things. I did found footage several times, partially because it's relatively easy compared to a conventional production, but it also it gets a bad rap. Found footage, I think, often unnecessarily and undeservedly, because it really, if you know what you're doing, it really forces you to think of new ways of how to tell a story. I often think about like my favorite gothic horror novels, Frankenstein and Dracula, that were novels of letters. So that was the literary equivalent of the found footage genre back in the 1800s, and nobody really criticizes those for their storytelling form. So I don't think that found footage should be any different. It's something, it's like any other form. If it's good, it's good, and if you don't know how to do it right, then it's not good. But with me, I was able to try new things. Like I did like your classic kind of in the woods found footage, but then I did like I've done snuff, imitation snuff things. I've done YouTuber type things. I've done it all. And so now, with this new collective that we've formed, I'm looking forward to having more of a platform with which to talk to you, the viewers, as well as to, talk about what inspires me as a filmmaker, what I hope to bring to the table, as well as, I've got two segments in particular that I want to bring. One of them is going to be called Blu-ray View, kind of a portmanteau of Blu-ray and review. And that's going to be, because if you can see behind me, there's a lot of movies on the shelf, and we'll go into depth about what all those are in the days to come, days and weeks. And, we'll be able to explore not just kind of my methodology for collecting films, because I believe if you are a filmmaker, then you should, it's just like if you're an author, you need to have a very large library. Same thing with films. If you're a filmmaker and you expect to be any good, and if you expect to get anywhere, then you need to have a big film library of the classics and of things that particularly inspire you. So, that's what I used to have a much bigger collection, but, had to make a lot of personal sacrifices at one point to keep afloat, and I had to sell a lot of them. But now I'm in a place where I'm getting them all back, but better, and expanding the collection quite a lot. And so as I do that, I'll take you on the journey with me, and we'll be able to not only review the films, but we'll be able to do some, just why collect physical media, why better editions than others, why go with a region-free player as opposed to the one in your native country, all those things, because they all go together with, making your own films, and why why and how you should and can make them better. And speaking of which, the other segment's going to be where I'm calling it No Money Film School, and it's where I, with the experience that I've accumulated, even in the, rather limited, not overly limited, but more limited than I would like, let's say, in the years of experience that I've had so far, from, age 18 to now 28, almost 29, the years of experience that I've had with making my own films, and I want to be able to pass on the knowledge that I have acquired to the next generation without having to have the usual financial bars for entry that you often have with film schools. And it's going to be interactive, so if you have a specific question about something, feel free to ask it. And it's gonna be something that, we all kind of learn as we go. And as I continue to make more of my own films, you'll be the first to know some new insight that I have. And, so you can learn along with me, because I don't know it all, and neither do the masters. Even though they are the masters, there are going to be people that come along and do things that they could have never thought of, and that's just how it works. That's how an artistic medium, it grows with each new year. So yeah, you're going to go on that journey with me, and I want to bequeath whatever knowledge I have onto you. So yeah, please subscribe, like, and share, and stay tuned for more content in the future. And hope to see you there. Thanks for listening.